So, Sandra, welcome. It's so nice to see you and have you here to speak for the Bear Courage Project. I believe it was through Women with Alopecia,
Yes,
initially the group, and now it's a community on
right.
Facebook. Uh,
Yes,
so, yeah, and it was really nice chatting with you, texting with you, and that's how we got to this point right now, which is wonderful.
yes,
So that everyone knows, this is Sandra McNair-Moye, and she is the branch manager for the Connecticut division of Women with Alopecia Community Incorporated.
yes,
So Sandra is going to share with us today her journey in going through what she has on her hair journey. And then we're going to share it with everyone else so that they can know they're not alone and that things that we experience are basically just part of the process. It really, truly is a process. Uh,
yes.
Emotionally, spiritually, physically, all of the above and more. So if you're ready, let's get started. Good.
Okay.
All right. So what is the scalp condition that you have?
I have alopecia areata.
Okay. hmm And when did you discover that you had it?
I was diagnosed in I want to say 1999, 2000,
Okay.
somewhere in that area I was diagnosed. And the funny thing about it is I was diagnosed after I had my child,
Really? Okay.
my first and only child. At 31 years old, I had my son. And a couple years after I had my son, I noticed that my hair started thinning.
Mm,
And my initial thought was, things that happen to your hormones after having a child during, pregnancy. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just experiencing hair loss from that. So I
right.
really didn't pay it much attention. But then it got to the point where I started developing like almost scabs, like
Mm,
where the hair was falling out,
wow.
the thin spots. And so then I thought, okay, maybe something's going on.
Mm,
And I started seeing a dermatologist. And long story short, I've seen over a dozen dermatologists
wow.
um, throughout the years. And I went, and at that time, they didn't say it was alopecia. They were saying it might be some kind of rash. They thought I might have lupus. They thought a whole gamut of things. And I have to say, back in 98 and all I mean 2000, although it's only like 24, 25 years ago, alopecia was not talked about.
hmm
You
Right.
know, you did not see women, you know,
Right.
it just there was really no awareness outside of if you knew you had it,
hmm
and whatever means you decided to cover it up or what have you. And so long story short, after seeing half a dozen dermatologists and such, um, during that time, um, I didn't know what was going on. So I had my own idea of what could possibly be going on because the dermatologist didn't know. And so I thought, okay, throughout the years, I've had perms and dyes and fried my hair and did
Right.
this, that, and the other. It's just damaged. Maybe I just need to reset. So
Mm,
I decided, okay, I'm going to go natural.
right.
So I
Right.
stopped perming and I went natural. And being natural at first was like okay, but then it became, now I was getting thin patches where I'm like, now the hair is really falling out. The dermatologist still don't know what's going on. And finally I went and I saw a dermatologist, and he was like, I am determined to find out what this is. If I can't figure it out, I'm gonna find somebody that can. And he sent me in to Yale. And it kind of like Yale has a clinic where you go in and like all of like the specialty doctors will come in and see you to kind of see
Okay.
if they can figure out what's going on. And I had one doctor that walked in and he took one look and he was like, that's alopecia.
Wow. Wow.
You know, now mind you, prior to alopecia, I'm a two-time cancer survivor. So I lost my hair during those bouts with cancer, but it grew back.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I did not think one was related to the other.
Right.
And so again, nobody really talked about the alopecia because again, people that knew me knew that I had cancer, that I had shaved my head during that. And
That,
so it kind of all blended in together until now, fast forward, women with alopecia, I came in contact with. And I started thinking, like, you know, I never really told anybody. I never really talked about alopecia,
mm,
you know, to nobody. It was just like I
you
didn't
found
have
out.
hair. And
Mm,
how I ended up, um, and I'm going to say, showing the true me, showing my true self is I woke up one day for work on a Monday morning. And with the natural hair, I would always prep my hair at bedtime, you know, twist it up, put the bonnet on, the
right.
whole thing. And that Sunday night, for whatever reason, I didn't do any kind of prep. And I woke up Monday morning and my hair was just matted and it was a mess. And I was just like, you know what? Didn't even think twice about it. I just grabbed the clippers and I shaved my head. Had never
Really?
shaved my head before in my life, so I didn't have a guard on or anything.
Wow.
And I just shaved my head and got dressed, went to work. This was in I want to say June, July of 2007.
Okay.
And I went out, went to work, and I never ever looked back. I
Really?
decided that I was just going to be bald and I was going to love it. I looked in the mirror and I was like, okay, I see you. I
Exactly.
was like, you're okay. This is nice. And then it just became, you know, I
Oh,
really, it's like India Ari had made a song back then,
right. Right.
and
Right.
that was my
Yeah.
song. I am
Yes.
not my hair, you know, I am not my skin, none of that. It's like this, I am still the same person with hair or without hair. And so I made it fun not having hair. It's like, oh, if I want to have hair, I had a room of wigs,
Right. Right.
all different kind of wigs on heads, and this is this person, this is this person I'm going to be. And if I wanted to wear a wig, I would. If I didn't, I didn't. And nobody ever really said anything.
Really?
You know, the only you know, you had the people on the street, oh my God, you know, that looks nice on you, oh, you have
Right.
a nice shaped head, you can do that. And like I said, there weren't a lot of people, women with
At
bald
that time,
heads
yeah, really.
back then.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I had kind of developed a little reputation around, you know, the county that I live in, because, you know, that bald head, have you seen that bald headed woman? Have you seen that bald headed woman? And then Black Panther came out.
Wow.
And when Black Panther came out, then people actually started, oh my God, you know, one of the, you know, Black Panther, and it was like I started noticing other women. And
Ah,
I didn't know if they were shaving their head because it was a theme, because of Black
right.
Panther, or
Right. Right.
because of alopecia. And like I
Mm-hmm.
said, it never, that awareness of alopecia was never ever there for me. It's
Wow.
like I never experienced that. And I listened to so many other women and their stories, and I'm so grateful because I never experienced that, oh my God,
Mm,
I'm losing my hair,
mm.
you know, I gotta hide this. And I never experienced it. And I'm so grateful because I know it's hard, because I have a mother I have aunts that
Right.
have alopecia and have covered it and have is by no means looking to be like, oh no, I'm coming, you know. So I always knew, but it just didn't affect me that way. And I'm just like so grateful because this journey, and we call it a journey,
Yeah.
Women with Alopecia Community Incorporated, it's a journey and it affects you in so many different ways. It affects you mentally, it affects you emotionally. You know, we have women that are so stressed out about their heads because it's not just losing the hair, it's that process of
Yeah.
losing your hair. It
Yeah.
can be painful. I mean,
Hmm.
I had periods of time, like I said, it was painful. I had developed scars and,
Yeah.
scabs on my head and had to think of different ways to, okay, what can I use on my head that's not going to be irritating? How can I keep my head moisturized? And it's like
Right.
all of this is a journey. It's a process. You don't just wake up, shave your head. I'm bald headed from alopecia.
So you
Go.
almost did. I mean, basically, yeah, that's what you did.
But it
And
still was a
that's
process.
critical.
Like I
No,
said,
I
it
know. I
it didn't
know.
affect me mentally, you
Okay.
know,
Got you.
but physically it affected me because I'm like, okay, now I have to think about what can I use on my head because my scalp was sensitive. So it's
Yeah.
like, what can I use on my head? What can I not use? I don't want to irritate it. I had discoloration. Okay, should I use
Mhm.
cocoa butter? So it's like I went through that process. I did not struggle, thank God. I didn't allow it to consume me.
Yes.
I kind of accepted very quickly, okay, this is how it is. What
Right.
am I going to do?
Hmm.
Whereas some other women may be like, okay, I can't accept this right now.
Yeah.
So now I have to figure out how to manage this so that it doesn't consume me.
Yes.
And that's where women with alopecia come in. We're here to support you on that journey wherever you are.
Yes, very much so. I mean,
Yeah.
that was one of the great things that I noticed about the community. Um,
Mhm.
when anyone introduced themselves for whatever it was, saying that they needed some help or support, or they just wanted to join in, or they were just so happy that they had found the
Yeah.
community, that everyone just gave back love. There was nothing negative in any way, shape, or form. You know, the first word, beautiful. That's the first word. I mean, you can see that like a million times in if you look through a thread. And
Yes.
that alone, does something to your psyche and your self-esteem.
Yes.
So positive, and enriching that that community is just the power of it is amazing. It
Yes.
really is. Um, and I wonder too if, because I have to say, your approach to it was uh, that was courage. That was bare courage. You just got up and got the clippers and did what you had to do. Do you think that the fact that you had gone through the trauma too of cancer,
Mhm.
did it affect your hair exactly the same way or in a different
Yes.
way?
Yes. And I think that's why I was able to not allow the alopecia diagnosis to consume me because I had gone through the cancer diagnosis and I allowed that cancer diagnosis to consume me.
And that is different. That
So
is,
I experienced the hair loss,
yeah.
that struggle, that depressed, I went through depression and all of that. I experienced it with the cancer.
Mhm.
And I think because I got through it,
Right, right,
I knew, you know, I got through that. He took
right.
me through that. Okay, this is a
Yes,
little thing.
exactly,
We just shaved this off. This is fine
exactly,
because we got
exactly.
through something that at that time I felt like was worse.
Oh yeah,
You
definitely.
know,
Yeah, yeah.
so and I know how I dealt with that. It was 3 months after I was diagnosed with cancer the first time around before I told anybody I told, my husband at the time knew, my
Mhm.
parents didn't know, my best friend knew.
Mm.
And it wasn't until my best friend shaved her head, in
Oh,
solidarity with me
that's so great.
when I went through my first bout of cancer. And that's when I was able to tell everybody. But prior to then, I had all this built up. I don't know if it was anger, resentment. I don't know what it was, but I was so angry just trying to wrap my head around that diagnosis.
Right. Yeah.
And so, years later, here comes alopecia. It's like, okay, you
It's
know,
no
yeah, yeah,
problem.
yeah. So again, that's my journey.
Right.
So although I didn't experience it with alopecia, I still had that same journey. And
Yes.
that's why with women with alopecia, although we were drawn together by alopecia, we are here to support you with maybe cancer,
Right.
with losing your home, what resources you need. We're here for all of that.
Mhm.
It's not about financial help. It's about that women helping each other, supporting
Yes.
them, in the struggles that we all have, as a gender, so
Yes.
to speak.
Absolutely. Yes, because I did notice there were a couple of people who joined who said that they were going through cancer, had just, finished some treatments and now they had lost their hair, so they were
Mhm.
coming there for support too. So
Right.
I agree that the group is just wonderful for that. And
Yeah.
that's how come it's gone from being a group to a
A
community.
community,
um,
yes.
Because
And
it
our founder, I have to,
uh,
shout out her, Angela Leonard.
yes.
She started this, this community. It was something that God put on her heart, and she started this community. And like you said, it started out as a Facebook group,
Right.
a page on Facebook, and yes, she quickly realized that it was not a group; it's a community.
Yeah.
We're not a group of women in one location. We're a
No.
community of women all over. Yes, I'm the branch leader for Connecticut, but we have
Right.
Michigan, we have
Mhm.
Illinois, we have Virginia, Maryland,
Nisha here in Virginia.
New
Yeah.
York, New Jersey, and so on and so
Yeah.
forth, Texas,
Yes.
everywhere. So yeah, we're a community,
Yes.
all brought together, by a common, issue.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say a disease, because I believe alopecia is a disease.
It is an autoimmune disease.
Yes. Yes.
Um, it's amazing how many people actually experience it. And there are so many different forms of alopecia too.
Mhm.
So,
And it's been around for so long, and there just wasn't any awareness.
right,
I mean,
exactly.
alopecia, I've known people that have been living with alopecia. I'm 57 years old, and I've heard women say they've been living with alopecia for like 60 years.
Yeah. Some it started in their teens.
Yes. And then, the people, again, the awareness. You have children that are born with alopecia. They're born with it. You see the babies, the little ones with alopecia. So it's not, people kind of just think, oh, well, you did too much with your hair, you did this, and that's what caused it. And it's like, no. And that's why it's so important to get that information out, so
Yes.
that people don't have that stigma that, oh, you can't braid your hair, oh, you can't perm your hair, oh, you can't dye your hair, you're going to get alopecia.
Well, there is that form, the tract
Oh
alopecia.
yeah, you have traction. Yes, so there are several
Right.
forms. So,
Hmm.
but still, we don't want people
You
thinking you
assume that
can't do this, that, and the other because you're gonna get
exactly,
it
yeah.
now.
Yeah, yeah. It's just maintaining and taking good care of your
Mhm.
hair and your scalp, like anything. But the amount of money that gets spent,
Yes.
you're going through alopecia, just trying to find that magic product that's going to, do it all for you. Or you
Mhm.
just have a cabinet full of stuff that is not doing anything.
Yes.
And unfortunately, we spend a good amount before we make that trip to the doctor to say, what is going
Yes.
on?
Mhm.
And I had the same experience too, where they weren't sure what it was. And then this dermatologist, a specialist at EVMS, which is this research hospital in Norfolk, Virginia.
Mhm.
And they actually did a little biopsy. They took a small piece to actually examine it up close and kind of break it down and see what it was. And that's how they found out that I had scarring alopecia.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
it's the same thing, your scalp is sensitive
Mhm.
to certain things. So I couldn't use certain things that would have maybe been good for it, but it,
Mhm.
you know, you
Right.
couldn't take that feeling. So
Mhm.
that is really interesting. You've pretty much covered everything in one full swoop that I was going to ask you, which is great. I tell you, I really give you kudos for just waking up and saying, that's it, I'm doing it. No need to even ponder about it,
Mhm.
um, you do finally get to that point, and there's like sometimes there's a catalyst that does it.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's just inside. You just say, that's it. I'm done.
Right.
That's got to be me. Um, how did it feel that first moment after you shaved it all off? How did it feel?
You know what? I think the first feeling that I actually experienced, because, I shaved it and then got in the shower. So when I got out of the shower and I'm in the mirror and I'm like, I'm getting myself together for work and I'm putting on my makeup and everything. And when I got finished, I actually looked, and this is another thing. I never, and I don't think I do. I don't look at myself in the mirror unless I'm putting on makeup or doing something that I have to look. I don't pay attention to myself in the mirror. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, oh my goodness. And I was just like, oh, I can see my whole face.
Right. Yes, that's one of
And
those things.
I loved it.
Yes,
And
me.
I was just like, I actually was like, let me take a picture of myself because I really wanted to like look at, because I never could see my face. I always had some kind of hairdo, some kind of something. And I actually saw my face and I liked it.
Yes.
I
Yes.
liked it.
And it's so funny what you said, the quote
Mhm.
that you said. That's what I used on the Bear Courage calendar for this year. I see
Really?
me. I see me. Because it's like for the first time you're truly seeing yourself
Mhm.
closed and open without anything blocking
Yeah.
or being in the way.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is some kind of feeling, you know.
Yeah.
Um, for me, it felt like finally I was in my own skin, I was like
Yes.
fully me, you know.
Yes.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's I get that for sure. Um, what's the first thought that comes to mind when you look in the mirror now?
Um, I think now I'm at a place in my life when I look at myself, I just love who I see. I love the reflection that I see looking
That's
back at
beautiful.
me.
That's
I
beautiful.
um I wrote a book a few years back in
Really?
2014, and it's called Who Am I? The Pieces of Me.
Wow, okay.
And as I think about that book and I think about my life and how it has evolved, it's like I just feel like there are so many pieces that make up who we are. You know, I'm a woman, I'm
Right.
a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a friend, I'm an employee, I'm a this, I'm a that, I was a drug addict,
Mhm.
so it's like I was all these things. I was a thief, I was a liar, I was a and it's like at the end of the day, these are all the pieces that make up who I am and who I am becoming every single day.
Wonderful.
So when I look in the mirror now, I see this person that I've always wanted to be. Regardless of the trials and tribulations and how I got here, I look in the mirror and I'm proud. I'm happy. It's like I can see, I'm like, okay, this is who I am. And every day, I look in the mirror when, I ain't in the mirror all day, but when I get up in the morning and I get dressed, it's like I consciously remember to look in the mirror and say, okay, girl, let's do this,
That is so right.
and
That is
be
so
happy.
right.
It's like I refuse to not have peace in my life. It's like peace by any means necessary. I'm not hurting nobody or anything, but I feel like if I can exude it, then
Right.
I'm going to receive it. I may not always receive it the way I think. Everybody having good days, bad days, things going on.
Right.
But if I can exude it, so regardless of how my day may start off, I try to exude that peace.
That's wonderful. Yeah. That's so necessary too.
Yeah. And I'm not perfect. Don't get me wrong. I have my days
Yeah.
when I'm like, girl, today's not the day.
That's okay. You have to give yourself grace too, okay?
Yes, grace.
So we have a few more minutes here, and I just wanted to ask if you have any inspirational thoughts or suggestions or confirmations, anything, affirmation that you'd like to share with anyone who's looking.
I think I would love to leave this a little tidbit to just constantly love on you. Love on yourself first. And you can look at it or call it selfish, but if you can't love on yourself, you can't love on anyone else.
Absolutely.
So love on yourself in all aspects, from head to toe.
Yes.
Love
Yes.
on yourself.
That is so that's such a good thing to pass along because there are so many situations that that can apply to. And
Mm-hmm.
is outside of just alopecia, but just, for our own self-care, self-esteem.
Yes.
It's good to always remember that because we tend to put others first before ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So Sandra, I just want to thank you for being a proud alopecia, bald head wearing woman who's beautiful.
Thank you.
And I will have to get your book information so that I can promote that for you and have some people check that out. No, I definitely want to check that out. I didn't even know
Okay.
at the time. But thank you so, so much for your time. I really appreciate that and learning about what your journey was like. Um,
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your time
Thank you.
so much, and I will see you in the community.
Okay. Have a great one.
Take care of yourself. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.